We really need to let priests be gay. Howdy hole, and welcome back to Hole Chat, a boy love and girl love podcast that doesn't mind discussing ecclesiastical law. I'm your host, Chuck, and with me is a physical amalgamation of pom-pom purring and Lolita fashion, and an experienced chatter of holes, Mia. Hi, Mia.
Hi.
Welcome on.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, oh no, I'm not gonna say. I wanted to make a virgin joke, but I'm also like, that makes me feel icky, and so I'm not sure about it. Never mind. Keels is out because she's heard of this comic, and it's just not something she wants to hear about. She's protecting her peace, and so like we tell y'all all the time, like if you don't want to listen to something, like skip it, go do something else. Same thing for her. She's not into it. She'll be back next week. We'll be talking about something else heinous, I guarantee it. But so Mia I've known for, oh man, we've known each other for over 2 years now.
Yeah.
Edging on 3.
Yep.
We met at work and we just would we were like two passing ships in the night where we just compliment each other from afar and then never talk to each other. And then I met her fiance, and then we started talking all the time. And then I was like, oh, I've gotten in. I'm there now. We can actually speak to each other. And she is one of the inspirations for even having this podcast, is how much we would talk about boy love and stuff at work. So, yeah, this is an appropriate time to have you. I'm very happy you're here.
Yeah, I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I gave her a list of comics to choose from, and she narrowed it down to a couple. And then I asked her, like, hey, how frustrated do you want to be? And she said pretty frustrated. So today we're going to cover Blood of the Sun, or Sun's Blood. I've seen it written both ways because of the way that I read this. But it is a 2019 manhwa written by Folly Folly and drawn by Solomon. It is a fantasy story that features priests, vampires, werewolves, and has been jokingly referred to as gay Twilight.
I love that, gay Twilight.
It's a little bit gay Twilight derogatory.
Oh.
Well, I'm not a Twilight person, partially because I was just not the age group for it. I think, well, I was the age group, but I didn't feel like I was the age group when it came out. And then also, I don't like love triangles that much. And I think Bella should have been a lesbian.
No, I agree, yes. So yeah, I was a Twilight girly.
Yeah, but I just felt like I can't have this werewolf and this, vampire fighting over her. I think she should move to SoCal and just do her own thing. It would have
been better for her mental health in the long run.
I think it would have been better for everybody. Doesn't Edward have a sister or a cousin or something she could have dated and said that was cool with her? Like, there's other people you could have still fucked a vampire, but there's different ones you could have done that with.
Yeah, those way more mentally sound ones.
Yes, and yeah. My feelings, obviously. Yeah, this has been called Gay Twilight. It is also a comic that stays really true to the fuckiness of vampire literature, which I appreciate, and it really delivers on hot priests and those hot priests getting degraded. But it also did make me feel like I was having a stroke.
Oh.
So, this is also going to be way more spoiler heavy this time, because even when I'm reading it again, I feel like the back half of the comic is too weird not to just give a lot away. So, if you don't want to get super spoiled, you might want to skip this one or go read it first and then come back and listen to this. But I can't not say certain things. There's no way to explain where the fuck this is going otherwise. And then also, trigger warning for rape and dubious consent, because vampires are going to vampire. So someone's getting glamored or manipulated in some way to do whatever. That's just what it is. Y'all can fuck off and go. It's not a big deal. You can catch another episode later. It'll be totally fine. But we gotta, well, it is what it is.
It is what it is.
It is so much what it is. So you ready?
Yes.
Okay. Let's go. So, the comic opens with a well-dressed man and woman. They're going to be called Teko and Ryza, respectively. So, man's Teko, woman's Ryza. Well, you don't learn their names for a long time. It's fine. It opens up with them. They are reviewing documentation on a case that they're working. Ryza reads through, intermittently asking questions. The case details the strange occurrences plaguing a priest. Said priest explains that every night at midnight, the clock tower bell rings 13 times, and upon the 13th chime, a man comes to find him. At first, the mysterious man did nothing, though his mere touch sent fire throughout the priest's body. But over time, things escalated, becoming so obscene the father refuses to explain in detail. We know where this is going, for sure. As the reader, you're just getting flashes of darkness and hints of debauchery, but, you know, somebody's hole is getting blasted, obviously. As we are wont to do. A nightmare? Riza asks. Teko commands her to be patient as the scene focuses in on the priest story. So they go through this and then it jumps back to showing you what's been going on with the priest from the beginning, from his point of view. And so let me show you.
But they already is giving like a Nosferatu.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it's so close.
So close.
It's so, yeah, it's just, this story's very close all the time, and then I feel like it loses it. But let me show you this baby girl ass priest.
He's so pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was like the first thing that I was like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. This priest looks like he looks like he's ready to be dominated.
Oh, yeah.
You're gonna want to see him cry. Like, they set you up for that. So our priest is Father Gabriel. He's new to priesthood and to the town, but he has already made a positive impression on the citizens and the orphans that live in the church. During a charity event for the orphans, Father Domingo, our other priest, introduces Gabriel to a local rich businessman, philanthropist, and the story's walking trigger warning, Paolo Albertini.
Ooh.
The two men greet each other politely enough and exchange a handshake. Paolo, already intense and giving toxic vibes, squeezes Father Gabriel's hand tight enough to inflict pain, then excuses himself and fucks off.
Okay. That's a weird way to say hello.
Yeah, he came in really hot. So this is Paolo.
Oh.
Green eyes, blonde haired,
yes.
Strong jaw.
Yes.
Probably, I don't know, kills kittens, something like that. You can tell you can tell something's wrong from the get-go, for sure. As the charity event continues, both Priest and Paolo are expected to go visit the comatose orphans and pray for them. You know, like as a photo op kind of thing. Like, I'm going to put my hands on you, I'll heal you. Mm-hmm. And yeah, obviously charity events, there's always some weird kind of slimy bit you have to do, and so that's what it is. I wouldn't put Paolo anywhere near a child, but he paid for the whole event, so he's there anyway. Like, you can tell on sight this man is not safe, but money.
Yeah.
Gabriel, though uncomfortable with the whole situation, still has a duty to the children and to God. So he goes about giving his blessings. He touches the forehead of a blonde little boy and begins his prayer. And then suddenly, Paolo is directly behind him, his body pressed into Gabriel's back and putting his own hand over Gabriel's as it rests on the child's forehead. Paolo compliments him on his compassion, like right into his ear.
In front of the child?
Well, they're comatose.
Oh, okay.
So, like, thankfully, no. But is Father Domingo there? Yeah. Oh. Is, like, their photographer there? Oh. Huh? Like, this is what we're working with. Like, just right up on him.
Yeah.
Way too close for, like, a new friend or whatever. So, already, like, the boundaries have been crossed. Yeah. And they're gonna keep getting crossed. Our poor priest has no room to move away and can only pull his hands back in an attempt to create distance. Paolo's hand remains on the child's forehead. Already weird. We'll get back to that later. After the photo op, Gabriel has a moment to himself in the hallway. He barely has time to rest when he sees a child at the end of the hallway, standing there, smiling creepily at him. A blonde-headed child that looks a hell of a lot like the one he was just praying for. Father Gabriel instantly determines that this is not a miracle, this is the devil, and chases after the little hellion. Which I appreciate, because so often, like, the, like, Christian characters in vampire media or any sort of, like, fantasy media, they're like, oh, that was certainly a miracle, maybe? And he's like, nah, bitch, I know what that is.
Yeah.
That's a demon.
Yeah.
He follows it into another hospital room. A mysterious wind is blowing, causing the privacy curtains to billow ominously around him. At the end of the row of beds, he pulls back the curtain to reveal the blonde child straddling another, and this other child is, like, still comatose, but he's just out there straddling. And so Gabriel reaches out for the child's shoulder and jumps back in fear as the child, cackling, flips his head around. Like, does a full 180 with, like, grotesquely twisted neck and everything. Father Gabriel reasonably passes out.
So, like, the exorcism?
Yeah, like, like the full exorcist, like, twisting neck, creepy smile.
Yeah.
The laughter's, like, echoing all around the room in, like, an unnatural way and stuff like that. It's, yeah. So he passes out. And then he comes to later on the floor of the hospital room, with Father Domingo and Paolo above him. Domingo asks if he's okay, but Gabriel has no time to answer as the life support machine behind them beeps. He and Father Domingo turn their heads in shock as a child in the bed behind them opens their eyes. It's a miracle, which is why Paolo is smirking in the background.
I don't know about a miracle. I'd be a little scared. I'd be a little sus.
Yeah, so he's definitely done something. So, in a wondrous turn of events, Paolo adopts that child that miraculously woke up. A child that no one seems to notice is not the same goddamn kid. Because they were touching a blonde kid, and now this kid is, like, dark-skinned, dark-haired.
Yeah.
And no one seems to notice that the blonde kid is just missing. It never comes up.
That's what happens when you go comatose. You wake up just a little different.
Yeah, like, your body just becomes the true you.
Yeah.
You can be transracial.
Like a butterfly.
Yeah. Yes, you were in your little cocoon, and then you come forth as the brown-skinned goddess you're supposed to be. Sure. But yeah, so kid gets adopted. He's now dark-skinned instead of being blonde-haired. No one seems to be concerned about it. The kid's not buried. He's just gone. And only Gabriel seems to notice and is like, that's pretty fucked up. Are we going to do something about it? Nope. Doesn't matter. And this unholy father and son have the nerve to come to Mass and play at acting normal, while really just staring down Father Gabriel. And of course, Paolo never takes the Eucharist or communion. Little boy does, but he'll do it sassy, like, give me some Jesus, which makes me very uncomfortable. Yeah. Mostly because it's this kid just being, like, too horny.
Yeah.
Too horny for the body of, like, a 10-year-old.
Yeah.
And it's not my favorite.
No.
Well, later after Mass, in the afternoon, while in confessional, Gabriel and Paolo meet again. Paolo confesses explicitly that he made a mockery of God and brought a child back to life, which is an insane thing to say to someone just with your whole chest.
So casual. Though.
Yeah, just like, I did it. What are you going to do about it? Gabriel is at a loss for words, giving Paolo ample time to grab his hand, pull it through the slot in the confessional wall, and bite it. He sucks some of Father Gabriel's blood, likening it to communion and comparing his blood to wine. So he legitimately says, your blood is cool and a little tart, just like the taste of sin.
Ooh.
He then goes on a whole spiel about how he loves humans who try to be good when they're actually racked with guilt and sin. He tells Gabriel to look forward to their time together because they're going to have fun.
And Gabriel's just kind of like, all right, this is happening.
He's like petrified. He doesn't really know what to do about it. There's just like, well, I mean, what do you do?
Yeah, like, I guess they don't train you for this in, like, preschool.
Yeah, you don't, don the white collar and then suddenly know how to handle a vampire that's actively trying to seduce you.
Yeah.
And at church.
Yeah.
Like, during Mass is like, this is the best time to do it kind of thing. So, that night is the first time Paolo comes to him after the 13th bell. Just straight up enters his room and comes to him. He cups Gabriel's cheek, telling him things will only happen if he wants them to, and that he knows he wants them. Gabriel falls asleep that night, not knowing if what he experienced was real or a dream. All he does know is that he had a wet dream. Which, this is weird. This is the first moment where I was like, this is hitting weird for me in the story. Is he also dreamed about children in a fire? But then he wakes up and he says he has a wet dream. So the comic shows you a bunch of kids like screaming and there's like a fire going on, and then it jumps back to Gabriel waking up and he's like, oh, I had a wet dream at this big age? And I'm like, what?
That's wild.
Yeah. At this point in Father Gabriel's retelling, both you, the reader, and Ryza know that we're dealing with a grade A, boundary-pushing vampire. Gabriel probably knows at this point too, but he's not going to do shit about it. So the next chapter despite being mostly homosexuality, establishes several important things. One, that Gabriel is definitely gay. Like, sure, he's become the target of a male vampire, but he's been fighting gay thoughts since before priesthood. Because he sees Father Domingo, like, dressed only in his pants and, like, a white undershirt, and he's been soaked from the rain.
Yeah.
And he has to force himself not to stare. So his eyes are just like, man, that's off that thin-ass, like, priest undershirt. And he's like, oof, man. Right here in my face?
Yep.
And then 2, that Paolo has the ability to see into humans' minds and memories. We're treated to another scene where Paolo enters Gabriel's room at night. Homie's like, kneeling and praying, and Paolo just puts his whole crotch in his face.
Okay, is Gabriel aware? Like...
Yeah, let me actually, because that's one of the chapters I marked because, honestly, what the hell? Yeah, so, kneeling, asking forgive me, homeboy steps in, and then he's all like, should we be honest about, like, your feelings, you've been thinking about me, you're at crotch level, let me put my crotch right here against your face.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and then, from that point, we know we're gonna get a little bit worse. So Gabriel imagines being forced to suck Paolo's cock, and the vampire responds that he will not be doing that. Because, like, he's only gonna do stuff that Gabriel wants him to do.
Yeah.
And so he's like, no, I'm not gonna force you to do it. You have to want it. Well, kind of.
Oh.
Don't get excited. Hold. Like, it's hot, though, that he's like, I'll only do it if you want me to, and, like, you're right there, like, your face is right there, and you're thinking about it. And it makes Gabriel's choice to hoover that dick even hotter. Yeah. Like, it's a good scene. I really do enjoy it. Except. No. But this also leads us to number 3. Gabriel, while busy, glances up to look at Paolo, but instead of seeing the blonde, green-eyed vampire, instead sees a dark-skinned man with curly hair and blue eyes. The illusion is gone in a flash, but it helps establish that Paolo can just freely jump around in Gabe's memories and pick at what he wants. So, mid-suck, and then he sees somebody else.
Yeah.
And, like, Paolo dresses like, oh, you're thinking of blah, blah, blah. Like, he doesn't know exactly who it is, but he's like, oh, you're thinking of somebody else, but you should focus in on me. And then, like, grabs his head and then, makes him focus in. So, after Paolo sloppily comes all over and into Gabriel's mouth, Paolo straightens himself out and warns Gabriel that he's not allowed to have unnecessary thoughts when they're together, like including, like, this other person, and that it's in his best interest to forget his first love.
Jealousy? Possessiveness?
He then skedaddles, leaving Gabriel kneeling and disheveled on the floor. Like, he's still got, like, cum on his robes.
Yeah.
And it's there for a while, and I'm like, you drew this in, like, I kind of want to applaud the author and the artist for including
like
that.
The little details.
The little details on this poor priest is what makes it really important. Once gone, Gabriel squeezes his crotch, possibly in an attempt to not masturbate furiously, and collapses to the floor, where he does, indeed, masturbate furiously.
Good for him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He feels dirty, and is such a baby girl. As he desperately faps, his mind fills with memories of an old friend. The same dark-skinned, blue-eyed friend he'd imagined. But as a kid.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I get where they're coming from, but I'm like, did you have to... It's weird. It's weird to draw him fapping, and then he's thinking of his childhood friend, when he only remembers a childhood friend as, like, a tween. It's just a little off.
Yeah, just a little bit.
I get what they were going for, but you could have just drawn him in as, like, his adult self, or what he imagines his adult self to be. Because he's already imagined what the adult self would look like, right?
Yeah.
So let him think that instead of... Whatever. Okay, whatever.
Yeah.
It's fine. But he asked the Lord for forgiveness for being aroused, thinking about a person who died because of him. Plot relevant, he thinks that this man died because of him, and so now he feels extra guilty for fapping to him. Cool. Great.
Okay.
Meanwhile, in the fuck-ass woods is a very familiar blue-eyed man. Gabriel's friend is not actually dead.
Ooh.
Great.
Yay.
The prestige! The not-dead friend has come to this town looking for Paolo Albertini. For what reason, we're not sure yet. But the moon is full, and this dude is a werewolf. So there's that.
I love that.
Yeah.
Good for his childhood friend.
Yeah. Being a wolf is great, but yeah, this is his childhood friend.
Oh, he's very attractive.
Yeah, I was... For every weird thing that happens leading up to this point, I then keep getting stuck back in. So I'm like, oh, that's good. Or, oh, that looks really interesting. And so I was really happy to see, like, a dark-skinned character drawn very well.
Yes.
Because even the fact... Even the fact, like, his palms are actually drawn lighter than the exterior of his hand. Oh. And I was like, you're going to do that every time? Oh, excuse the fuck out of me. We're dealing with professionals here. Oh, and then them as kids are both very cute kids, too. Yeah.
Oh, blushy.
Yeah, the art for this is banger. It's so good. The next few chapters give us more priest defilement by way of Paolo pleasuring Gabriel while he's sick, but also the backstory on the dead childhood friend and why Gabriel became a priest. So, like, Paolo shows up and is like, oh, you're not feeling well? That's not gonna stop me. I'm still gonna do whatever. You still want it and whatever. And so, like, Paolo does that to him, and then Gabriel starts thinking, like, oh yeah, that's right. That's how I met my first love. But yeah, so he's imagining his friend Sayo taking care of him while he was sick. So, like, after his parents' death, Gabriel was sent to stay in an orphanage where he first saw the blue-eyed boy. His name was, or is, Sayo. Like, he doesn't know that he's alive. We do at this point, but it is what it is. But he was an aloof and mature child that Gabriel was instantly captivated by. And he was also ostracized by the rest of the orphans for a reason you will never find out.
Oh. They just never explain it?
The best explanation that we get still doesn't explain how widespread it was. Like, I want to say racism, but I think there were other little brown kids there too, so I don't know. That's just not, it's never fully fleshed out. Yeah. Despite warnings from the other children, Gabriel befriends him and meets with him at night. They find out that they have plenty in common, like how Sayo is from an island that Gabriel and his parents have been moving to, and, you know, they're both gay little kids. Mm-hmm. They hug, and Sayo removes a necklace, a family heirloom, from around Gabe's neck, promising that he'll return it in the night of the next full moon. They'll meet behind the barn, and then they'll explain everything and what that necklace means to him.
Okay.
Yeah, so Gabe was rocking this, like almost Yugi Moto level, like, giant gold chain with a giant blood red stone on it, as, you know, a tween. Yeah. And that's what Sayo takes from him and is like, I'll give it back to you. So, of course, this doesn't happen. They don't meet up. Instead, the night of the full moon, Gabriel is blocked from leaving by several other children, their eyes all glowing red in the darkness. They had warned him not to get involved with Sayo, but now it's too late. The barn fucking explodes. Literally explodes into flame, and all Gabe can do is stare in horror, realizing that no regular child would survive that. In the days following, he is bedbound, struggling to grieve Sayo's passing and the hand that he played in it. One of the orphanage workers encourages him to pray about it and find peace, which is what led him to praying about it so hard that he ended up as a priest.
Okay.
So that's his little backstory of, like, I'm so racked with guilt, I'll just become a priest. And I'm like, you're also so gay. So, like, obviously gay. You had a whole little baby relationship. Yep. Y'all dated. You never look at women ever in this entire comic. Please.
One of those, like, praying the gay away situations.
I don't know if he did. I don't know what his deal is. I just keep thinking that this was not the move. Yeah. I guess he's, like, so distraught that his main thought is not being gay. His main thought is, like, I need to repent. And so that's, like... So I get where he's coming from, but I'm also, like... There's so many things you need to reconcile. You should have thought a little harder about this.
Yeah. Maybe therapy and not God.
Yeah, like, maybe do therapy. Or even, like, at this point, even church-related therapy would have been better than just, like, I'll just become a man of God and then I'll fix it. Haha. Yeah, he's a baby girl. He's doing his best.
Yeah, he's trying. He's too pretty to think too hard.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and now he gets to be a priest who's become the prey of a vampire. Excellent religioning. You won Christianity.
Yay!
We are finally reintroduced to Teko and Riza, who have arrived and are staying in a hotel in town. Coincidentally, next to Sayo. So they're sharing rooms. And the moment was at least a little bit funny because they'd stayed overnight. And they're like, the dude who's got the room next to us was being really loud last night. It's like, yeah, the dude in the room next to you was, like, having his vampire freak out. Sorry. And so Sayo does, like, apologize. I'm like, sorry I was so loud last night. And they're just like, maybe next time don't be loud then, bitch. And I'm like, girl, come on.
So, like, in this world, like, vampires were also just, like, a thing and people are aware?
No, they still hide themselves.
Okay.
But, like, Teko and Ryza are getting, like, frustrated that he's being so loud. But he, like, can't explain to them why. But he's, like, sorry for, yeah. So it's kind of silly that they bring it up and they're not realizing it. Because also, like, they're not super explicit about it at the beginning, but they do paranormal, like, investigation stuff like Teko and Ryza do. And so they're obviously going to be hunting for this vampire. They are used to dealing with that stuff. They have werewolf's blood on them, so they know that werewolves are a thing, but it never occurs to them that a werewolf is just staying next door.
Yeah. Like connecting the dots there.
Yeah, they're just like, oh no, this is just a very rude guest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, after another night of fucked up dreams, Gabriel meets them by way of them climbing into his window. So he wakes up and then Ryza is just like crawling into the window and I was like, hey, good morning.
He had a lot of like unexpected visitors into his room.
Yeah. Really? Yeah, he does. I don't... it's that baby girl.
Yeah.
People can smell it from a mile away. Yeah. So, Ryza introduces herself, and he'd previously met with Teko to ask for help, but she assures him that they can help and is about to unload all that they've learned about Count Trigger Warning when Gabriel stops her. This is his problem now, and he's realized he doesn't need help fixing it and doesn't want to involve other people. So he asks for help, they get there, and he's like, no thank you, I got it. Vampire fucking me is my issue. You don't worry. So he politely throws them out and declines any further help. But there's a fucking vampire in this town, and he's old as fuck to boot. So Teka and Ryza don't actually need Gabe's permission or assistance to take this fucker out. Paolo Albertini is a menace to the earth. Once the siblings are gone, Gabriel, alone in his room, calls out to Paolo to see if he's listening. Hearing and feeling nothing, he assumes that, no, the vampire isn't always watching him. An assumption that is immediately reversed later that day by the appearance of Paolo's son. Gabriel comes across him while tracing a stray ball from the orphan soccer game, and then once they meet, this kid immediately delivers psychic damage by taking on the appearance of the kid that killed Sayo in the past.
What the fuck? Yeah. Poor Gabriel. He should try to live his little life.
He's just trying to be a good priest, because the kids love him. He's great with children. Except for this fucker.
Yeah, he's like, fuck you.
Yeah. He tells Gabriel that his father wants to meet with him at their manor that evening, so he can tell Gabriel how to be a good little slave, and then he turns to Ash.
Fuck this kid. He's such a little shit.
This is the part that was like, this is really funny to me. It's just like, I showed up, fuck you, fuck the horse you rode in on, my dad's gonna ruin your whole deuces, Ash. Oh, man. But, like, the thing is, like, why does this baby girl ass priest have to even go do this? Why can't you come see him? You've seen him plenty of times. Because also, like, there's no the traditional vampire stuff of, like, you have to invite me in. Yeah. Paolo just shows up wherever the fuck he wants to. He doesn't give a shit. Is that your boundary? No, it's not. I stepped over it.
So, like, the whole, like, garlic and, like, crosses don't work in this universe.
Like, crosses apparently can work, but it's more like werewolf's blood and crosses, but no garlic. And I guess in Paolo's case, since he's so old, crosses barely work. So, like, Gabe's wearing a cross, it didn't fucking matter. Okay. He just like, I'll lick it and give it back to you. It's fine. So, of course, Gabriel ends up at that damn manor, and while he is skeeved out by how empty and cold the place is, it doesn't stop him from following the vampire Shota in to meet Paolo. Gabriel demands to know who Paolo really is and to make a deal with him. One that would likely keep Paolo's sinful actions focused on him and away from anyone more innocent and undeserving. Paolo's just like, LOL, you should be asking what I can do for you and what you need to give to me to get it. And then he fists his hand into Gabriel's hair and forces him to bend over the dining room table. This leads to blessed priest fucking. It's just hot and blasphemous, mostly because Gabriel's still mostly dressed, but also because Paolo keeps saying the horniest shit with perfect diction and no shame. After he nuts, he just leaves Gabriel still bent over the table and dripping from his ass. So I have notes because unfortunately, unfortunately, all the porn parts have some sort of plot. And I do appreciate a man that eats ass.
Yes.
Like, for everything that I'm against this vampire on, he does eat ass, and that's very important, and I think he's great for that. But yeah, so that's...
Standards.
Yeah, like, that's, you know... He knows what he's doing. But yeah, here's the, like, I'm gonna make you bend over the table. And Gabriel's not appropriately scared either. He's just like, oh dang. And like the glass of wine breaks or whatever, kind of mimicking like blood or whatever, that's fine. But then yeah, just pulls his pants down and goes for it. But yeah, like to me it's like the priest clothing salon, it's the gay little socks.
The gay little socks.
Something about keeping your gay little socks and your priest shoes on. The baby girl.
He's so pretty.
He has no control over himself.
No.
He needs a bigger adult. He doesn't have a bigger adult at any time. It just is what it is.
Yeah.
Oh, then the like you did well. Come on. Every night from now on, you will get to feel like this. Balls is a little I said.
He would have gotten me. I would have been like, yeah, okay, I'm here to stay.
You're 1,000 years old and you have money?
Hello?
Okay.
Can we get rid of the child?
Yeah, like, let's get rid of the child. But it's like, priesthood be damned, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, just leaves him there. It's like, thanks. Fix yourself and tidy up your clothes. I'll bring you back once you're ready. Like, I'll drive you home later or whatever. Or not even drive you home. Probably just, like, walk him home, carry him home. Yeah. Bullshit. Whatever. So, from this point, after getting bent over the table and fucked, for Father Gabriel, things only get sluttier and worse from here. He gets a boner during his next mass because Paolo has the audacity to stare at him during the entire thing. So he's up at the pulpit doing his business, and Paolo's just like, girl, what's up? You think about stuff? You talking about Jesus? I'm thinking about something else. When trying to escape into his quarters after mass, Paolo corners him and fucks him outside. In front of God, Jesus, and Father Domingo, who sees and does absolutely nothing to help. Like, Father Domingo's personal office is like, they're fucking under a tree.
Uh-huh.
And so that tree's in front of Father Domingo's office, and Father Domingo is like talking to Teco back there.
Yeah.
And Teco's like, hey, blah, 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 I can help you guys out because I think you guys have a problem. And he's like, we don't have any problem. And then Teco leaves, and he glances outside because Gabriel's like, I need help. Someone help. And he looks outside and then is like, nope.
No problems here.
It's not for me. I'm not that concerned about it. But yeah, then this isn't just like up against the tree, barely naked kind of fucking. They take off nearly everything. So bare ass, bare back, in the courtyard. Where are the orphans?
Oh no.
Somehow the orphans don't show up, and I'm like, thank God. Yeah. But also, you're so lucky.
Yeah.
You're so lucky. To make things more confusing, Paolo keeps saying how cute Gabriel is. The cutest person he's seen in 1,000 years, whilst rawing him in the grass. He's speaking to Gabe like a lover, but he's also absolutely reading his mind and manipulating him via his blood. Dubious is the word for the moment. Sayo, meanwhile, is having a completely normal time. He's hot, he's new in town, the local stray dog is happy to meet him, which I think is very cute because the dog, he can speak to dogs.
I love that.
That I was like, okay, you got it. Like, I'm just like, I'm going through this other stuff and I'm like, this is sexy but kind of fucky. Oh, he can speak to dogs, it's so cute.
The duality.
Yes, exactly.
I do love just kind of like the traumatic thing that's happening right here, and this guy's just kind of like, having a grand old time.
Yeah.
Puppies.
Yeah, I befriended a stray dog and he's excited to talk to me and it's great, yeah. He meets up with the dog in the forest at night and manages to get a full explanation of what Paolo Albertini's been up to. Like, vampirism, merging a lost soul into a sick child and turning him into a vampire, and then how long he's been trifling in that city. Everything. Which is weird, because the dog has way too much good information.
Yeah.
Like, very coherent good information.
Just imagine, like, your dog is gone, and he's, like, in the woods somewhere just with a random man, just, like, staring at each other.
Pretty much. The dog also gives exposition about the necklace that Sayo accidentally took from Gabriel. It's a weapon against Paolo somehow.
Oh.
It's around here that I start questioning what I'm reading. Because the dog is too good at this, and it doesn't. It's testing me. It's testing me a little bit. Still, Sayo's plan is to infiltrate the Albertini residence as a caretaker for the child and is looking for opportunities to get the kid's attention. Which has already worked, because whatever Solo's in that kid wants a plaything and is weirdly horny about Sayo. Like, there's a scene where the kiddo is asking his dad for someone to take care of and play around with him, and Paolo's like, sure, why not? And the kid licks blood off his dad's hand. Just, I'm like, okay, sure. And, like, at this point, that scene didn't even faze me. Like, forgot about that completely.
Yep.
And we're just like, okay.
Yep, moving on.
But it's weirder that the kid's like, I want a plaything, Daddy. And it's like, you are 11.
At least you look 11.
We suddenly reach a point in the 62 chapter story where the plot needs to kick in beyond a vampire really wanting to defile a priest. So a lot of things happen very quickly. Gabriel finally tries to do something about his predicament by looking for any evidence about Paolo's past life as someone else. He, of course, learns nothing, because motherfucker's been doing this for at least 10 lifetimes, but he does get word that this year's Thanksgiving festival is going to be fucking huge. Like a real blowout, with tons of food and traveling circus, graciously funded by Paolo Albertini. Sayo coincidentally meets a few members of said circus who are excited to see him because their fortune teller mentioned they'd meet a wolf guarding a red stone. They think it's because they met the stray dog, of course, but this convinces Sayo to meet the clairvoyant old man. And I have to mention him because, well, he comes at you fast, he is important to the rest of the story, but, like, he doesn't get enough lead-up time. It's whatever. Paolo, consent is for pussies, Albertini, is busy, as always, fucking around with human lives, and has been plotting extensively for a while. Thanksgiving is the last day he plans to spend in this town, but not before he and his son drain the blood from every citizen they can get their hands on.
Oh my goodness.
During the Tomatina portion of the festival, they can use the coverage of tomatoes to spill the blood of every man, woman, and child they can. So, Tomatina festivals, it's where you get a bunch of tomatoes and, like, you throw them. So, like,
okay.
We as human beings love to yeet stuff at one another, and a lot of different cultures have one, but the Tomatina is a very specific one that I think is pretty popular in parts of, like, the Mediterranean, I believe. Places, I think, where, like, you got too many goddamn tomatoes, I guess, going on. Or, like, it's just, But that is the thing. And so they're like, well, that's going to look like blood. Yes. And we're going to go sip, sip, and then book it.
I do think tomato shade and blood are, like I think they look different.
I think so, too. But they're just like, well, there'll be enough tomatoes around. And I'm like, okay. Yeah. I think somebody might figure it out. Yeah. But what do I know? But once they, suck the blood of as many people as they can, then they can fuck off to the north with their human playthings. Father Gabriel, for obvious reasons. Sayo, because the horny, evil child. And then Father Domingo, because he knows their true identities, and he's a weak little bitch that would sell out his own race to protect himself. It'll be funny having him around or whatever. So they're not going to kill him, they're not going to turn him into a vampire, they're just going to take Father Domingo with them.
Just hang out.
Yeah. They could absolutely just kill him and be like, well, you know too much about us. Yeah. You're dead. But they're like, no, we'll keep him. Yeah. That's going to be our guy.
So they don't know yet the connection between Sayo and Gabriel?
I have no idea.
Okay.
We kind of know, but there's a buried lead in there that we don't really get a chance to figure out for a little bit longer. Mm-hmm. And I feel like it should have been mentioned earlier, but it definitely wasn't. Okay. And we probably should have started the story with this mention, and then we didn't, so it's whatever.
Okay.
Speaking of Father Domingo, he's been pretty hands-off throughout most of the story, so he takes the opportunity to try and kill Gabriel.
What? Okay.
Tries to stab him to death while he's sleeping. Which people, again, keep coming to Gabriel's room, right?
Yes, poor Gabriel. What? Why?
He gets caught, and then goes on a tirade where he blames Gabriel for everything going sideways. Like a victim blamer. He's a little bitch through and through. So he ends up begging for Gabriel's forgiveness and his silence as he runs out of the church and into the woods behind it. Because, his whole thing is well, if you weren't here, then the vampire wouldn't have come, and the vampire has made a deal with me, he's threatened me and my livelihood and blah, blah, blah. And so Father Domingo has been feeding the comatose children to, Paolo and his son. So comatose children just disappear all the time. So this explains why, like, Gabriel's worried about the comatose child.
But no one else is.
But no one else is, because, like, Domingo doesn't say anything about it, and Paolo's, like, cracking open orphans like a cold one and just sucking them dry all the time. Yeah. So that's what Domingo's been doing. What a priest, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just...
My poor little Gabriel. He's just...
No.
He's too soft and precious.
Yeah. Yeah, he is.
He does need an adult. He needs a handler. Like... a not mentally ill one.
No one in here is a big enough adult for him, I don't think. But, it is what it is. So this, of course, leaves Father Gabriel ripe for a vampiric nightcap. Paolo is even more manipulatively sexual than last time and uses Gabriel's desires to create an illusion that he most wants to see. So he fucks him while looking like an adult version of Sayo. We're just doing whatever now. And this is one of the only times you'll actually see Sayo and Gabriel fuck.
No. At least an adult version. That's cool.
Yeah, this time at least we did get an adult version instead of the weird, like, flashing back to, like, I remember when we were young.
I'll say, as a Twilight girly, I'm always rooting for the werewolves. So.
That's fair. Where you been, Loca?
I still stand by my man. It's okay.
That's the only thing I know from this. I know really weird Twilight knowledge, and then where you been, Loca? God damn. Ryza and Teko become relevant again, with Teko specifically taking some action by intercepting Domingo post-murder attempt. Teko knows what Domingo is up against and offers his hand. All Domingo has to do is take it, and he'll have allies and safety and a way out of all of this that doesn't involve killing Gabriel. He books it, of course. The weight of Teko's offer too heavy to bear. And also, he's a little gay about it.
A little gay about it?
Mm-hmm. He's a little bit gay about it.
What does that mean?
Domingo's just being a little bit gay about it. Like, I can't take that hand. Ooh.
Oh. Okay, I get it now.
Ryza is a little more hands-on than her brother, but also maybe worse at doing her job. But she manages to confront Paolo's son, who had just come from psychologically tormenting Father Domingo. So he just shows up. This vampire boy just allowed to do whatever the fuck he wants.
Yeah.
So he shows up, and he comes into the confessional. He came to the confessional, and he presented himself as Gabriel, confessing to Domingo, and was just like, yeah, I'm doing nasty sex stuff every fucking night, and this is all your fucking fault. And if it weren't for you sending these orphans off to hell, and I wouldn't be in this situation. And then once Father Domingo's, like, super upset, the kid just walks out and is like, hee hee. Job well done.
I'll give the kid a pass on this one. Like, Father Domingo deserved that.
He just deserved a little bit, yeah. But Ryza catches, like, the kid coming out right at that moment, and then she uses wolf's blood to create a barrier and trap the little asshole, and attempts to force him to give information about his father. Because it's too early for anything to go smoothly, the evil soul manages to split itself in two, leaving one part in the child and sending another off into the air. Which would be fine if Father Domingo and Teko hadn't come to see about the ruckus, leaving both of them as available vessels for the soul. This doesn't come up again until later, too. We're going back and forth a lot at this point, too, so it's written like this.
Okay.
When we next meet up with Gabriel, he's curiously poking around the festival grounds, watching the circus folk set up the infrastructure for their performances. He catches a glimpse of a dark-skinned man that looks remarkably like the version of Sayo that he'd imagined and comes closer to investigate. He's initially disappointed that his first love has changed as he listens unknowingly to Sayo playing 4D chess with Paolo. Because the fortune teller that Sayo was supposed to go see, he did get a chance to meet him, but Paolo found out about the fortune teller being there first, figured out that he was actually clairvoyant, and then took some of the fortune teller's blood. So now he has control over the fortune teller. And so anytime he's about to give, like, a prophecy, he pretends that, like, Paolo's like, oh, I'm going to give the prophecy and just make something up or whatever. Yeah. The fortune teller did actually give, like, a real prophecy to Sayo. Like, he overrode, like, the vampire control and gave him a real prophecy, but it wasn't, like, super complete or whatever. Yeah. And so Sayo realizes, like, oh, he is being controlled, and I think by the vampire. I don't know how certain people know about vampire powers and other people don't, but he seems to know, and so it's like, there's something going on. So I'm going to play into the vampire's hand so that the vampire will take me with him, and then I can try and take him out. So it's 4D chess, very much. Like, I know that you don't know that I know that you know, kind of thing.
Okay.
But what he's saying to the fortune teller sounds like complete opposite of how he used to be. And so Gabriel's like a little disappointed about, a little butthurt, like, well, that's not the guy I remember, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But Sayo is asking the fortune teller for advice, knowing the old man's not fully himself, and is hoping to convince the vampire that he's dumb and ripe for the picking. Still, disappointment aside, Gabriel just has to see him up close. So Sayo wanders off to ponder the fortune teller's real prophecy. Like, the fortune teller had said, like, there's a guy who never forgot about you, and it's going to be important for you to meet back up with him. And so he's like, who's the guy that never forgot me? Which man is it, he thinks, since he's been so busy not dying and kissing boys? So he has a full roster of boys he's been kissing at different times. He's been slutting around the earth.
I'm sad.
Your disappointment, palpable. I was reading comments about this as I was reading through this. Everyone was like, oh. And then people are trying to defend, like, well, he can go be a slut if he wants to. And it's like, yeah. But right now, I'm, like, mad a little bit.
Yeah. I could be a little disappointed in him.
Yeah. So he lays in the grass near a tree and closes his eyes to continue to think. His eyes slide open upon hearing footsteps. As his eyes readjust to the sunlight, he finds himself looking straight up into the eyes of the priest. Gabriel collapses to his knees, putting them closer to one another as he calls out Sayo's name. Recognition runs through Sayo, and he calls out in return. Finally, they meet again. There's so much time they've been apart, so much they could say to one another. Gabriel tongues him.
Oh.
Like, Gabriel's just like, I haven't seen you in a long time. Just real quick.
I mean, good for Gabriel, I guess.
Yeah, but it's like, I feel at some point...
Like, a conversation needs to be had.
Yeah, or like, hey, I missed you, not just...
Yeah. And also, did Sayo, like, forget him?
No, he didn't forget him, he just didn't assume it was gonna be Gabriel.
He didn't, like, did he not think their relationship was, like, special enough to, like...
I don't know why he didn't immediately think of Gabriel. That would have been the first person I thought of. You had your first little gay-ass relationship with him. Yeah. That would have been the first person I thought of.
Yeah, and then I'm sure he thought you were fucking dead.
Exactly. Know? So yeah, like he... And like at the beginning, you don't know that Sayo knows that Gabriel would assume he's dead. Yeah. Like... Because you're not sure what happened. You don't know if he was, like, outside of the barn or if he ran away or what happened. When you figure out that he actually did know, like, oh, it should have been impossible for me to escape, and then I had to, like, leave him forever because I needed to go off, blah, blah, blah. Like, at that point, I'm like, well, then you should have assumed, dude. I don't know. Like, I don't know why you thought about every boy you've ever kissed but him first, you know? Because they also kissed. So they dated and they kissed as, like, tweens. So, like, this is what it is. It's whatever. Oh. So, Sayo reasonably believes that this means that Gabriel's gonna fuck off from being a priest, and says as much, because you don't go kissing boys with your little priest collar on. Our dumb little priest is now embarrassed and quickly tries to leave, but Sayo stops him and draws him into a tight hug. He wants to meet again, and tell Gabriel all the things that he couldn't tell him before, and more, because he never forgot about Gabriel either. But you did.
Yeah, but they did.
So our star-crossed lovers have met once again. The vampire still being a son of a bitch, his son is a shell of his former self, and the vampire and her siblings are in a new level of mess than they expected, with Father Domingo in tow. Surely there will be a fascinating and coherent resolution to this whole slutty mess. Nah, dude, I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
We're gonna go weird places before I get there.
You know, it's already been weird, so...
It is just weird. Like, it hits like chapter 12 and starts getting weird, and then it gets, like, full tilted by the time we get to chapter 20, and then you're like, this is going places, and I'm not sure. But I have to show you Father Domingo, and he's got some, like, twunk body going on.
Twunk.
Like, he's a little twunky. He's got some nice titties going on. This is, like, Teko is the one that gets possessed by the spirit. And so then there's this scene where he's, like, maybe gonna bite him and suck his blood, but also maybe gonna fuck him. And we're teased with that. And I keep thinking, we could have had that and we didn't get it. Paolo's such a cunt. Like, he's so cunty. Because they're, like, this scene is they're in a, not a merry-go-round, the Ferris wheel. They're in a Ferris wheel. Yeah. And he was standing on top of the Ferris wheel, and then he pops down and is just like, hello, how touching that you were talking about whatever. And I'm like, this is so Dio Brando coded.
Yes. That's very much a vampire move.
He's very Dio. Okay, so You can already feel some of the frustration that I'm having.
Oh no.
But let's go over the characters real quick. Oh god, yeah, we're gonna be a minute. Okay, so we have Father Gabriel, a sweet, sweet baby girl of a man. He's a priest who's great with kids and is really passionate about caring for others. He has a strong will and a stronger heart, and is quick to sacrifice himself, which is his main flaw throughout the entire comic. He is incredibly gay, to the point that he is constantly running away from his gay thoughts. He's been in love with Sayo since childhood, despite thinking he's dead. And he is the perfect prey for vampire due to the all of him. He's also a wolf, kinda, and is part of a centuries-old prophecy.
Hello?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He's good at soccer and slinging hole.
Alright.
Because for as much as the beginning is just him, like, being enslaved to this vampire, he's then like, oh, you can put a little priest hole, though. Sayo can put it in there, and that's fine. And it's like, girl, what the fuck's going on?
He does seem like a bystander to his own story. A little bit.
A little bit. And I know a lot of vampire stories get like that, too, but, like, I just keep... As I was rereading this, I kept thinking about Lost Boys and how, like, slutty and cunty Lost Boys is, and I'm like, yeah, but I still wanted the vampires to die, but I wanted to see them, like, grind on each other a little bit first. But I still felt like they were a villain, though.
Yeah.
I don't know. And then it was still slutty and hot with, like, escaping the vampirism at the same time. Like, they were still... It's because they were still in the 80s. They were still going to wear, like, their little crop tops. So it didn't matter if the vampires... You know, whatever. It's fine. So then we have Paolo Albertini, a problematic vampire, which is normal, but he does bring the trigger warnings, and he does it with style and ease. He's hot, rich, and unapologetically free of morals. He will manipulate anyone just for fun, and sees humans, animals, and any other creature as beneath him. He's lived for 1,000 years and has experienced insane shit, including the fall of the Roman Empire, Bastille Day, and the transatlantic slave trade.
Oh.
He's actually, honestly, smitten with Gabriel, but has no idea how to do a relationship right. He knows about the prophecy, but hasn't given a single goddamn about it since it was created. You are actually supposed to dislike this dude, but this character has more nuance than literally everyone else. And I will talk about the prophecy, but it's the whole point that I read so far into this to give a summary, and the prophecy hadn't come up at that point. We were like almost 20 chapters in. There was no mention of the prophecy. But I will fill you in.
Okay.
Sayo is our male lead and a hot werewolf. He is a wanderer who's worked a lot of different jobs, but he's a playboy by trade. He's an orphan along with Gabriel, but he knew he'd end up that way, and therefore wasn't surprised when he ended up in an orphanage. He's wise and older than his years, and incredibly considerate, but also disappointingly bland. He was in love with Gabriel's kids, but is willing to hold back his feelings to respect Gabriel's oath. So I think that's the coolest thing about him, is that he's a lot of restraint, and is like, I'm not going to do anything to you, for real, I'm not going to do anything to you that you aren't enthusiastically into. I will put my feelings aside to respect the choices that you've made, kind of thing. Oh. And so, like, that is the charming point about him. I wish we got to spend more time with it, but, like, that is what's in there. Then we have Teko, who's one part of the brother-sister fix-it team. He's the brains of the operation and is usually in charge of talking to clients and managing his sister. He gets possessed by a malevolent soul that removes him from 80% of the story, but we do know he wants to fuck the other priest.
Hell yeah.
Loves his sister the most. Ryza is the other part of the brother-sister team. She is half girl failure, half hurricane. She's very motivated, but generally all over the place. She forgets parts of the incantation she's supposed to use, she's clumsy, has a tendency to put her foot in her mouth, and I also love her. She's an excellent side character that has an interesting enough backstory to make you root for her. And she ends up being very important to the endgame and is a great comic relief to boot. So she makes it all the way from the very beginning to, like, the, hey, we gotta kill this vampire point. Like, she's all the way up until the very end. Okay. So, and I do love her, because, like, thank God. Because she's just so, she's so rough and tumble about stuff. She's breaking into people's homes. She's breaking stuff in half.
I love that.
There's some point where they're just like, hey, did you have to be that strong about it? And she's like, what do you mean? That's a normal amount of strength. Yeah. And it's like, girl, what the fuck? But she's great. And she also loves the fuck out of her brother and is his ride or die. She'll do literally anything for him.
Oh, so wholesome.
Mm-hmm. Then there's Father Domingo, a bitch baby of a priest. He is a giant coward, and upon discovery of Paolo's true identity, caved to his wants without a threat. Not a bad priest in general, but apparently lacks a moral compass. He screws Gabriel over at first, but comes around later to try and help. He is hot, though. Like, he looks like he chops wood and eats hearty dinners.
Meat potatoes kind of man.
He's a little bit chunky, but you're like, yes. And he's possibly gay for Teko.
Hopefully gay for Teko?
Oh, well,
Crossed gay?
I have confirmation about it. We'll get to it. I do have confirmation about them. The dog, the Shaggy dog from earlier, his name is the King of Destruction, Rusky Kaganante Romanov Nicholas III.
I love that.
That's what he says that his name is. When Sayo asks, he's like, what should I call you? And he's like, this is my whole name. And he then explains that to Gabriel, like, the dog says his name is this. And Gabriel's like, I'm going to call you Nicholas. Is that cool?
Did he name himself that?
Yeah. He's like, if I had a name, it's going to be this. Because he's just a stray dog.
I love that for him.
So he's some type of European shaggy dog. Possibly Bergamasco or Portuguese sheepdog or, like, the French barbet. Somewhere in there. Look that up if you want to. But he's, like, black shaggy dog. And he's the only reason some of these characters make it to the midway point alive. He's absolutely adorable, and he wants to be besties with Sayo.
Aww.
And there's another dog at the end that's also cute, and you root for her. And she's like a little Italian greyhound. I forgot what her name is, but she's adorable. And but also, like, as I'm like, oh, she's very fast, and she's adorable, and, like, she's become part of a wolf pack, and is running free without her owners. I'm like, that's very cute. And then I'm thinking, oh, she's an Italian greyhound. And then I'm thinking of Jenna Marbles' Kermit. And then just crying, endless crying. So, but she's great. She's very cute. Okay, before we get any further, I just want to read off some of the insane shit that Paolo says, because it's like insane horny, insane shameless, and insane evil. But so cunty. All of these are so cunty. So at one point he says, "You have a lewd body. It resembles a dog simply waiting for someone to tame it.
Ooh.
If you keep tightening like that, it'll be hard for me to fuck you properly.
Ooh.
Rather than God, wouldn't it be better to serve me instead? Just surrender to shame and guilt. All that will change is the name of the one you are to serve."
Hey, yo.
And then, with one finger, you'll be begging on the floor, twisting your entire body out of lust for me. And no matter who will be watching, you will be crying and begging for something to fill your obscene hole.
A poet.
Yeah. And this is the line. These are the lines that he gets, and I'm like, well, yeah, I don't like him, but like,
He had a way with words.
yeah, he's a motherfucking Shakespeare out here for demeaning a priest. So now on to why Blood of the Sun makes me feel like I'm gonna have a stroke. First things first, the creators did mention that due to constraints, they were unable to flesh a few things out that they really wanted to include. Which is the polite way of saying that someone told them to fuck off and hurry up. And this should answer why the comic ends up so weird. But I do want to discuss the how it's so weird.
Okay.
And this is, I'll say to you, like, one of the things they had to cut out was the Teko and Father Domingo relationship. They knew that they wanted to write that in, so they say in their author's note, like, we are acknowledging, yes, there's supposed to be a thing, we're going to write it in, but we had to end it differently in a way that's pretty unsatisfying for their situation, but, like, they didn't have time. Okay. They probably needed 40 more chapters to actually finish everything out, and they did not get that. So, really to start with, Paolo gets too much goddamn screen time. He is, in the creator's own words, a side character, yet I know more about his trifling ass than everyone else. And he is fucking interesting to boot. So, like, yes, he is a walking trigger warning, but he's a vampire, so it comes with the territory, but you end up curious about his motives and his history. So, like, he goes from wanting to own Gabriel to claiming that he loves him, but he's a 1,000-year-old vampire who's never said the word love in his life, outside of, like, I love sucking down blood and manipulating people, and even that he's, like, bored of at this point. That's so fucking interesting. That he's like, I finally think I've learned how to love somebody, and I know how to say it, and I'm trying for it. And it doesn't help that when Gabriel, in an attempt to tell him off, he asserts that Paolo is just lonely, because everyone he could form attachment to dies. That makes him sympathetic. Because then you're like, well, of course, like, then he's looking for somebody to be his companion. Yeah. And so, like, it's hard to not feel interested in him. Yeah. And, like, want to know what else is going on with him. And then you also then start wondering, like, well, was he born a vampire? Was he turned into a vampire? And why would he be cursed to be this lonely? All this, so it makes him feel like a tragic villain.
Yeah.
Instead of like just a regular boundary crossing, raping, dubious, consenting villain. Like it takes his edge off to where you actually do kind of care what happens to him. And it's like, that's not what you're trying to do.
I will say, I did think he was. Is he the? He's not the male lead. He's not the main lead.
No, Saya's the male lead.
So, because you've, like, I feel like this is his, like, Paolo's story.
Yeah.
And I thought he was the male lead. And I was like, oh, okay, so it's gonna be a redemption arc at some point, right?
No, he's not the male lead. He's supposed to die.
Oh.
Yeah, he's supposed to get completely murdered.
Okay.
Because he's the bad guy. And then, of course, like, the reason for the grudge between... Okay, well, that's okay. This is a great place to talk about it, because... So, there's a whole prophecy going on that's supposed to be where Paolo, back in the past, screwed over a bunch of wolves with being a big evil vampire. Those wolves tried to fight him. They were not able to finish fighting him. And so, as, like, the last two wolves, like, laid down to die, like a black wolf and a white wolf, laid down to die near each other, both, like, scarred up and, like, you know, harmed by Paolo, and having had their blood sucked out of them or whatever. They're about to die, and then Paolo gets what he wants out of the situation, and then they create the red stone through their, like, bodies being burned or something like that. It's not that important, because we get it very quickly, but, like, the wolves die, their bodies are then, like, you know, burned and cremated and put into the ground or whatever, and they form the red stone, and that red stone is what's gotten passed down through Gabriel's family, and so like that stone was created to kill Paolo, and this is also how Gabriel's technically a wolf, because the black wolves always hung out with only other black wolves, or they'd only hang out with humans when they were not wolves or whatever.
Yeah.
This isn't explained super well in there either. They're just like, we hang out with humans but not all the time, but I'm like, but you're only werewolves for like 3 days, so like when so you're hanging out with humans all the time, and then like 3 days a month you like fuck off and go like eat dirt. Like, what's the deal?
Dirt.
But the white wolves, they regularly stay with humans, whether they're in their wolf form or in their human form. And so the white wolf at that time had fallen in love with a woman, married her, and then had a child. And so Gabriel's the descendant of the white wolves, but so he's a wolf by blood.
Yeah. But
we never get to see him in cute wolf ears or anything. But he's important.
Opportunity.
Yeah, but so the white wolf and the black wolf from the prophecy are supposed to come together and fight Paolo again, and then actually kill Paolo is what's supposed to happen. Or it's left up in the air, but like that's the point, you're supposed to meet again. They should be able to kill him with a stone. Okay. And so that's where the whole blood of the sun, it's the stone is the blood of the sun and whatever. Right, so...
Okay.
But you understand that prophecy should have been probably said like between chapter 1 and 5.
Yeah.
And then you're starting to figure out the players through it. Yeah. But they don't tell you until you know everybody. And then they're like, oh, by the way, there's a prophecy. And I'm like, girl... Don't tell me now. Now I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, but I guess also don't tell me that he's going to be a wolf, and then, like, he never does a little bow wow moment either. So, like, yeah.
Yeah, missed opportunity.
Yeah, but so the reason for the grudge between Paolo and the wolves specifically, so he sucked the blood from 1,000 wolves so that he could walk in the sun. And the moment when those wolves are dying, he's ignoring their death because he's like, the sun's so beautiful and exquisite. And you want me to be mad that he did it. And it's also like, it's just the wolves. He didn't go on some rampage and, like, kill the rest of the town or whatever. Yeah. It's just the wolves. Like, he had been kind of terrorizing people by, like, being a vampire. But it's like, well, again, was he turned into a vampire? Yeah. Because he's gotta eat. Yeah. And so he just feels like an unfortunate fixture in a world that's not taking care of vampires or whatever. Yeah. So I'm trying to be mad at him, but it's really difficult. And I don't care that much about the wolves time. Yeah. Like, I'm trying to. But it's like, y'all just have a weird grudge, and you're making everybody else's problems what this feels like. Yeah. You know what I mean? A little bit.
I think Paolo's just kind of like doing what vampires do, you know?
Yeah, like, he's not especially evil to everyone else. It's really, he's evil to the wolves, for a good reason, that's fine. And then, like, towards Gabriel and Sayo. That's it. Like, those are the only people he's bothering for the most part. Yeah. So many other people he leaves alone. Like, he picks up some people along the way, but, like, he's not going to try and, like, drain the earth. It's not going to try and make it nighttime all the time. It's not even like that weird vampire elite group or whatever in Twilight that are like, we're going to make rules. Yeah, it's not even fucking Volturi. He's just like, I got an agenda, and it's about me, and this is what I want, and I'm gonna take it.
But weren't they gonna, like, kill the whole town at the, like, tomato festival?
He was gonna drink a bunch of them, but it's because he hadn't been eating, basically, for a while.
Uh-huh.
Like, so he has the self-control to, like, he eats a very lean diet when he's in town, and then he, like, leaves and, like, takes a bunch of people out, and, like, so they have, like, a rash of murders for a bit, and then he disappears in the next town. So he's even got, like, it's not even the most aggressive he could be. It's like, well, you're actually hungry. I'm trying. Yeah. You're picking off orphans that were gonna die anyway. Oh. And it's like, that's fucked up, but it's also like, you did it. There are too many choices that he makes that are very careful and not automatically morally bad. They're very morally gray.
Yeah.
Instead of being like, oh, this is supposed to be the bad guy. So there's just too many signs pointing to like, oh, these are kind of okay.
Huh.
So like, yeah, this guy's been controlling the main character during all their sexual exploits. So he's a creep also. Yeah. But he's a complicated character, which is so good, but no one else got as much development. So Paolo just kind of sucks up all the air in the room. And like, they also don't tell you that he is manipulating and actually making what's happening to Gabriel. So all the times when he feels like, oh, I feel really hot and I feel really horny, he's in control of all of that.
Oh.
They don't tell you that for a long time. And you find out about it because of the fortune teller, because he then explains, like, I can control the fortune teller. Because when controlling Gabriel, every sexual experience they have, and so it's like, so it's gone from dubious sexy to like, oh, this was actually technically rape the whole time. Yeah. Which is also a weird gut punch to have in the middle after they showed you explicit sex scenes for a long time between Paolo and Gabriel. So it hits really weird. And then, like, the motifs never quite become motifs, so there should be some, like, repetitive things that kind of come up for you to be like, oh, we're establishing what the theme of the story is. Yeah. But, like, fate is supposed to play a huge part in this story, but you're almost halfway through before they really start hammering that home. And I wish they'd layered it in much earlier, but it's like, that didn't come into play until, like, fairly late. So you're in the back half before they're talking about, like, fate, and then, like, Paolo's the one who says it a lot, like, oh, this is fate, fate's determining, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And so you don't know if you're supposed to be fighting against fate or going along with fate or whatever. And then the same thing with the Wolves legend, like I was saying, like, you learned that so late, and then the legend is just, like, thrown at you like a baseball at 100 miles per hour, and then you're done. And then you, like, kind of just fuck off about it. Yeah, because, like, Gabriel really just tells us what happens instead of spending a few chapters showing how it happened. Yeah. Which is a damn shame, because it would have been interesting to spend, like, 3 or 4 chapters, like, getting into the wolf psyche and understanding why it's important for them. Like, developing a reason to sympathize and empathize with the wolves.
But as far as the only person you can empathize with is Paolo.
It's Paolo, yeah. Like, I care so much about him. And the explanation is so short that I'm not 100% positive if the original White Wolf and Black Wolf were supposed to be star-crossed lovers or just super respectful besties. Because the White Wolf is married to somebody and has a kid. But it also makes it seem like they are so, like, soul-bound in this moment. So are they in love with each other or what's going on? And then that detail kind of takes away from Gabriel and Sayo's, like, relationship. Because you don't know if there's, like, in Sailor Moon universe kind of thing. Like, oh, we were, you know, we died together, we'll live together, we'll get together again sort of thing. Or if the whole point is for them to buck fate and do whatever the fuck they want. And that's why they're now choosing to be a relationship. It just, like, muddles all of the, like... all of the, like, tension is just kind of, like, sucked out of the situation. Because you're just like, well, I guess okay. Yeah.
My head hurts.
I told you! Welcome to Stroke Town, my dude. Welcome. And then I mentioned telling and not showing, which is so much of the back half of the comic, and it throws the pacing off. So, like, too many characters end up giving it all away in a scene or two, and somehow you're still confused afterwards. Like, the old fortune teller has some kind of long-lost romantic relationship with another old lady who's also got clairvoyance, and it's explained in, like, 2 panels, and the old man dies.
The fuck?
Yeah, like, you don't even have a chance to get attached to them. The entire part where you should have been attached to them, it's just, we met once before, and now I knew we would, but I have to go to the afterlife. And I'm like,
yeah, like, so, I don't care about you. Like, who are you?
Were they, like, fucking in the grass when they were 15 or something? Like, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know what the situation is. And then the vampire kid, he eventually gets a name. He eventually gets the name of Misha, because once half his soul is missing, he acts more like a little kid, and he gets very docile and sweet. And, like, that's actually kind of a cool part, because weirdly enough, again, Paolo, instead of getting mad and being like, you're worthless to me now, is like, I don't mind having a kid this time. And he's kind of, like, holds his hand and, like, takes him out to feed on, like, flesh and stuff like that. And then we'll be like, let's get you some brand new clothes so that you aren't soaked in blood anymore, my little baby. And so he kind of gets attached to him.
Yeah.
And, like, the other characters kind of get attached to him as well, and they give him a name, they name him Misha. But, like, that vampire kid is actually some weird ancient spirit mixed in with the soul of a kid that should have gone to heaven by now.
Uh-huh.
And while he's returning to where he came from and leaving the kid's body, and, like, he remembers, like, I'm actually this ancient spirit, I have to return.
Uh-huh.
He just word vomits his entire history and then, like, fucks off.
Yeah.
And then he comes back later without explanation.
Uh-huh.
Just shows back up later.
Okay.
And you're like, okay, why now? And why are you back to being a little kid's body? I thought you disintegrated it. I don't know. Fuck. Cool. Thanks for fighting against the vampire, I guess. And then there's all these, like, loose ends, and they do get wrapped up.
Uh-huh.
But you kind of wish they didn't since it happened so fast. So, like, the kid who set the barn on fire in Gabriel's past, that was a vampire. So the reason why his little eyes turned red, he's a vampire.
Okay.
Does it explain why the other kids also participated in bullying Sayo? No.
Okay.
Because this kid even complains, like, only, like, stupid kids listen to me. And so it's like, so the rest of the kids at the orphanage just told you to go fuck yourself, but Sayo's still an outcast. What? Why?
Yeah.
So you're not in charge of a whole gang of children, but they're also still bullying this kid. Then why do we mention this? Why do we do this?
Yeah.
But so he gets mentioned that he's a vampire. I'm like, okay, fine. We can guess it with the red eyes.
Yeah.
But the explanation in, like, chapter 50 is something about, like, that this kid's parents were killed by Paolo, and then he turned the kid into a vampire and then abandoned him for 40 years.
What?
We can skip that, right? Like, why did he tell me that? Who cares?
Yeah, like, fuck this kid. Like, who? Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's too much too late. And so then, like, the kid shows up, and he's helping Paolo, because he's like, well, I'll help you out if it means I can die, but before I die, I'm gonna, like, eat Ryza, and I'm like, and he has some weird power where he can use, like, his blood to, like, constrict Ryza, and then it literally is like a Sailor Moon villain, where he's sucking out Ryza's life force through his, like, blood vines. I'm like, I want to shoot myself. I hate that we're doing this right now. And, like, I think so much of this time tying up those loose ends could have been spent fleshing out Gabriel or Sayo or Domingo instead of, like, giving you this extra little bit. Like, I get that they had it in there, they thought it was cool, but it's like, they cut your ass off at 62 chapters. You gotta start cutting and editing some stuff. Yeah. And then too many things are just anticlimactic as well. Specifically Paolo's death, but also the fucking between Gabriel and Sayo. So, like, Paolo just kind of dies off screen. Like, you see them, like, put a stake through his chest, and they're using the fucking, like, red stone and whatever to try and kill him. And then he just kind of, like, you don't see him actually die. You don't see the life leave his body.
Yeah.
You just, like, you zoom in on, like, Gabriel trying to take him to task, and then you just skip away to the epilogue, and I'm like, so I'm gonna see the fucker die after all this? Like, okay, fine. And then, yeah, Gabriel and Sayo, all of their sex scenes are, like, half as long as they were with Paolo. They're, like, half as long, and a bunch of them don't get, like, fully fleshed out. You don't necessarily see them, like, come, even. Yeah. There's a scene where they were fucking in a hotel room while Paolo was off, like, feeding with the kid and, like, the old man. And I'm like, this is such a dangerous time to be having sex. You shouldn't be doing this, girls. Like, this is not a good idea, but I'm into it. And they cut it short, and I'm like, oh, okay. That's fine, I guess. Yeah. And even in the epilogue, you get, like, a blowjob, and I'm like, you could have just drawn the entire epilogue 90% of them fucking, and I would have been really happy with that. Like, let me see Sayo's hole as well. Yeah. I'm sure you would have drawn it expertly, and I wanted to see it. Yeah. You know, it's just two scenes that are crazy important, and they kind of felt flat. And then, yeah, the sex scenes were cut really weird. But, like, this dovetails nicely into the main thing that both the creators and the fans were upset about. Father Domingo and Teco didn't fuck. They wanted to. They should have. They should have done it sloppy style with the priest collar on, and they didn't. And then Domingo just kind of disappears into the ether at the end. It's just such a waste of a hunky design. And it sucks. Because we could have.
But we could have had.
We could have had some slop on these, and we didn't. And then I do have, like, two pet peeves. They're not really relevant, but they drove me personally crazy. It's like, I don't think anybody else is going to care the way that I did, but I did. So, the time period. when the fuck is this? Because, like, okay, yes, time passes weirdly in the comic, but they had the constraints, and so I'm like, that's not an issue that, like, we're kind of bouncing around. That's not my issue. What I mean is, it's not regular Earth, because they have made-up countries, and vampires, and werewolves exist, and that's a whole thing. But they allude to the setting being very much like the Earth we're on right now, so, like, our timelines mostly match up.
Yeah.
So, then why is there a camera from the 1950s at the beginning? Like, I figured out exactly which camera it was. Down, like, and know the, like, serial numbers or whatever, and it was only produced from, like, 1945 to, like, 1956.
Yes.
So there's that camera. The clothing ranges from 1910s to 1960s. But electricity is, like, a big deal. Electricity and cars are, like, brand new to them. And they're super excited. But it's like, well, that would put you guys, like, in the late 1800s. Yeah. Not to the 1900s. Because electricity was being regularly used in cities in, like, the 1800s. So, like, that's weird. And then, like, there's everything. Like, I kept finding all these anachronisms. Like, what are you guys talking about? And then Paolo confirms, like, this isn't the 19th century. And so it's like, so it's supposed to be the 1900s. Yeah. But what do you mean by the 19th century? What the fuck are we talking about? When is this? You know, people rolling up their bitch-ass little sleeves, the short sleeves on, and, like, people didn't dress that way. Yeah. The pants are cut too low for it to be, like, the 1930s. Yeah. Is it the 30s? Is there, like, a global, like, depression happening? I need answers.
From what I was envisioning, I was thinking, like, 1920s, 1930s.
Right. But there's too many things that are happening 20 years later that are included in there. Mm-hmm. Even the cars, I was like, this car's too fucking new, dude. What do you mean Ryza knows how to work on her car? What the fuck are we talking about? And then I wasn't even getting into, like, Ryza wears pants the entire time. That was not an issue. Plenty of women wear pants, like, and chose to do that for profession. But there's just so many questions I had, and then the more I tried to think about it, it pissed me off. And then they got on a boat at one point, and they're on the boat for, like, a day and a half. But they go from what is, like, I believe, like, fantasy Italy to, like, the equator in, like, a day. And I was like, shut the fuck up. You can't do that on this Titanic-ass bitch. It's not working. Pet peeve 2. Mentioning chattel slavery. Why did we need to do that? Like, no reason. Because that was the picture I showed you that you were like, this seems weird. It's the chattel slavery. Because they're trying to establish that Paolo has been alive for a long time, and that he was alive in the times of, like, the Greek and Roman empires, and that he knew, like, something adjacent to Caesar or something like that, and spent time with him. Was like, he was a cool dude to hang out with. And then it shows him, like, all these other events happening. So, like, Bastille Day was something that he was there for. So French Revolution he was there for entirely. He was there for some of their wars and stuff like that. But why did you have to include as one of the backstory pieces that he watched the transatlantic slave trade happen in real time? You did not need to put that in there to establish that he's been alive for 1,000 years.
Like, you had enough examples.
Like, it's fantasy enough. Lean into more fantasy and make something up, but they're like, we really want you to know that it's, like, 1920. Yeah. But also, we don't give a shit if it's 1920. Yeah. That was just where I was. Yeah. I know it's stupid, but I was like, then don't put this in here. Yeah. Skip the chattel slavery mention. You fucking assholes. They're fine. Like, they're not assholes. It's just, like, it hit me so fucking weird.
It was unnecessary.
It was, so weird. So, like, for all I'm saying, there are plenty of good things about this comic, too. The first 15 or so chapters are insanely good and are a testament to the creator's storytelling talent. You really feel like you're reading a fucking little vampire novel. And it's really cool how they incorporate action elements, especially towards the end. So, like, they are doing kind of, like, fucky vampire romance, like, will they, won't they kind of thing. And then at the end, when they're actually battling Paolo, it becomes, like, almost like DBZ. Oh. Like, they're really like, oh, we're going to do this. Oh, that didn't work. We have to try this. And we're going to, this is going to happen. And, oh, use this. And we're going to do whatever. And it's like, and the way that the action was staged was like, this is really good action. Yeah. And so, like, bending the genre from, like, dramatic fantasy into, like, Goku and friends versus a vampire is pretty sick. And definitely not what you'd expect for a boys' love. Because then you kind of remember, like, oh, God, that's a boys' love, too. Like, that was cool. I really liked that part. Uh-huh. And then the art is phenomenal. And it is such a treat to see characters from different ethnic backgrounds depicted appropriately. The settings are lush, the wolves are cute, and the food is drawn deliciously. Like, they draw paella at the end, and it's actually hand-drawn. It's on an asset. The artist did it. And I was like, I can tell what every food is, and it looks delicious, and that's so good. And then the author's note even features a sample of another art style that they had tested out that could have changed the whole tone of the comic. Like, the artist is so talented that she's like, oh, we could have done it this way, and it would have served, but I chose this because I wanted to make it more baby girl, and I'm like, that's amazing.
Yes.
I'm super proud of both of you.
Yeah.
So the skill is really off the charts here. This author and this artist, how they've worked together on other stuff before, and they have a really strong working relationship, and so they can see the potential.
Yeah.
You can really see where they're trying to go. Really, even with everything I've criticized, you see that potential. And you want to like it, and your brain is trying to fill in the details to reconcile anything that doesn't quite work. Hence the stroke-inducing nature. Because my brain's working overtime to reconcile things because I want it to work, because you know it should work.
Yeah.
And I think if they'd had those extra chapters, those like at least 40 plus chapters, this would be a very different situation for sure.
Because you can see where things want to connect, and if the characters were more fleshed out, like
and I really think it came down to pacing as far as like, I think they were told in the middle. Yeah. You aren't going to have that many more chapters left because we spent all that time with Paolo, I think specifically because they were planning for this to be 100 chapters. Yeah. They got told in the middle of explaining that you got to cut it out, and then they were just rushing, trying to like get details in because they laid too much groundwork before. So they're just trying to catch up the whole time. And so it's not that they didn't know what they were doing. It's just when you have something that's supposed to be that deep and that particular, you don't have time to like, and it's so hard to reconcile that and like just as a creator to get that tied up and stuff. So this is a comic that's kind of like that horse drawing meme. It has an impeccable start that slowly dwindles down to an acceptable but lackluster ending. But the thing about art is, its creation is important no matter the reception, and its worth cannot just be measured by one person's opinion. And even a just okay work should still be recognized as a masterpiece of time, effort, and skill. So give it a look anyway, and know that the creators still have so much to say, and we're entirely deserving of the time and space to create at their full potential. So, if you want to have a weird time, if you want to have a weird, fucky vampire time, and if you're willing to go in knowing that it's going to be not quite what you're wanting it to be at the end, you should read Blood of the Sun. You should really just go for it. You can read it on Lazen. It contains rape, dubious consent, manipulation, violence, death, murder, blood, dangerous shodas, Catholicism, deflowering of clergymen, demons, the occult, a toxic love triangle, and a weird ending. You can find more from the writer, Folly Folly, on Twitter at NeverBindort. That's NeverBindort. That's on Twitter. Or you can check out her other comic, The Gap, on Tapas, which is very different. There's no boy love in it. It's about multiple women going through fucked up situations and how that has to tie into women's liberation and feminism. I'm probably going to read it eventually, but it seems like a lot given the climate. Salomon doesn't have any public social media that I could find, but you can see more of her drawings in Wholesome Romance or I'm No Heroine, both on Lazen. Those are both great stories, but her art's luscious, so even if you just want to go by and like just take a look at, how her art looks, go for it. And now it's time, Mia. What is your whole rating for this?
Okay, what's the whole rating out of again?
Oh, 0 out of 10?
0 out of 10?
Well, 0 to 10, yeah. Sorry, yeah.
I'm going to say a 4 out of 10, but like a 8 out of 10 for potential.
Yeah, yeah.
I can see the vision,
Yeah, that's kind, and that's very much how I feel. It's, I promise you, it's for everything I'm saying that's negative about it. It kept me in long enough to where I wanted to finish it.
Yeah.
So I didn't give up on it. I kept reading it. I've technically read it twice now. So yeah.
I know that's half the battle.
Yeah, truthfully. Yeah. I was at least curious enough to finish. So this is what I'm saying. It's like, even if it's not the best, it's still worth giving a look. I still think worth honoring as like what it was trying to be. Yes. Yeah, totally fair. Well, for more Whole, you can catch us on Bluesky or Twitter at whole-chat, or you can email us at whole.chat.69@gmail.com. If you're listening on Spotify, we have YouTube that you could touch tips with. And if you're on YouTube, Spotify is ready and waiting for you also. Yeah, I think that's all we have today. But Mia, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Did you have a good time?
Yes, thanks for this wild ride. My brain hurts. I need a nap.
Yeah, me too. But thank you guys for letting us into your hearts and holes. Tighten up.